A fixed-wing aircraft crashes in a region controlled by drug cartels, quickly drawing the attention of 3 cartel members. They open the cockpit door and discover a wooden box welded shut with chains. Believing it contains something valuable, they enter the cabin. 2 of them begin moving the box while the leader heads to the cockpit. There, he finds a female pilot deeply unconscious. Upon seeing her exposed, the leader becomes immediately excited, reaching out to touch her, but to his surprise, he finds a large sum of cash instead, just blocked by the seatbelt. He pulls out a knife, preparing to cut the seatbelt and take the money. However, he couldn't anticipate how horribly his life would end. It's no accident though. This woman is the infamous Dominique, a ruthless figure feared by even the German mafia. Meanwhile, outside, the other 2 members struggle to open the box. One decides to go grab the tools from the truck, but as he approaches, he hears a sound behind him. Turning around, he sees his partner lying dead. Just as he prepares to flee, a gun is pressed to his back. It's Nick. Without hesitation, Nick disarms him, forcing him to load the box into the truck. The box clearly contains something heavy. After the box is loaded, Nick shoots the man and drives off. At a gas station, while refueling, the attendants recognize the truck and its infamous owners. To avoid further complications, Nick quickly buys the box, drives to a secluded area, and sets the truck on fire, turning it to ashes. He thinks he has erased all traces of his presence, but the next day, the bodies of the cartel members are discovered. It turns out the leader was the local sheriff's brother-in-law, leading to widespread corruption within the police force. The local officers only care about personal gain, even taking gold teeth from the dead. However, one officer, Agent Leo, despises these criminals and plans to expose them. Sheriff Lucas, determined to find the killer, begins arresting anyone with any connection to the crime, but his methods are brutal and corrupt. As part of his investigation, he tortures innocent people for information. Leo, documenting the abuse with a hidden camera, plans to use this evidence to bring Lucas down. One evening, Nick goes to a local bar to unwind and unexpectedly meets Leo. Leo, sensing trouble, advises Nick to leave town, but before Nick can respond, a young couple nearly starts a fight. Leo steps in and diffuses the situation, allowing Nick to lower his guard. The 2 head to Leo's place, where they spend the night together. The next morning, Leo is called by the sheriff to handle a crisis, and Nick is left to himself. At Leo's house, Leo's sister, Kayla, is celebrating her daughter's birthday with a lively gathering. Leo, meanwhile, watches footage of Lucas's atrocities, which include indiscriminately killing witnesses. He contacts a federal agent seeking support to take down the corrupt police. As soon as he hangs up, a group of armed men storms in, and Leo is knocked out. The next day, Leo is found brutally beaten, and his body is discovered by Kayla, who is devastated. The tragic news breaks the family, but things take a turn when Nick appears, exuding a commanding presence. The officers present are confused by Nick's arrival, but the tension shifts as the situation escalates. The group tries to find the hidden backup files on a computer but is interrupted by a phone call. Before they can react, Nick attacks, systematically killing every officer present, including the corrupt sheriff's men. He kills them with precision, leaving no one standing. In the aftermath, Nick takes the backup computer and drives off, leaving behind a bloodbath. Sheriff Lucas, enraged, orders his men to block all escape routes, but Nick is already several steps ahead. Lucas, finding out that an outsider woman was responsible for the killings, is skeptical but soon realizes Nick is far more dangerous than he thought. Nick makes an ultimatum. He will hand over the evidence, but only when they are out of immediate danger. Lucas, unwilling to take the risk, tries to trap Nick and his family in the remote area, but Nick refuses to back down. As tensions rise, Nick prepares for a final confrontation. With the sheriff's men closing in, Nick sets up a trap. He and Leo's family prepare to fight back, fortifying the house and getting ready for a violent standoff. The plan involves using lights to blind their attackers temporarily. However, just as they are about to make their move, Kayla's water breaks, a complication that could jeopardize everything. As the showdown begins, Nick takes quick action, hiding Kayla and her children in the bathroom, sealing them inside to avoid detection. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the heavily armed police force approaches, ready for a fight. Nick signals his ally, Lucy, to trigger the lights, temporarily blinding the enemies and buying Nick the time he needs to eliminate his attackers. In the chaos, the team fights back, taking out the corrupt officers one by one. The night continues as Nick leads the group through a perilous escape, but the final showdown is far from over. Will Nick's meticulous planning be enough to protect the family and bring justice to the corrupted police force, or will they all fall into Lucas's trap? The suspense builds to a heart-stopping climax as Nick faces the ultimate test of survival and loyalty. The massacre had begun. Nick, after a bloody round of combat, slipped back into hiding, unnoticed by the enemy. Just then, Lucy flipped the main switch again. Like before, the enemy was completely unprepared. They didn't even try to take cover, frozen in place. As the lights went out, Nick charged into the chaos once more, slicing through the disoriented group. In the confusion, they even ended up shooting their own teammates. Panic set in. Gunfire erupted in every direction while Nick moved swiftly through the crowd, slashing with his knife like a phantom of death. One by one, they all fell. The entire squad wiped out without him taking a single hit. Seeing the failure, the bulky team leader immediately ordered the second squad to move in. As they entered the yard, they were greeted by the grisly sight of their comrades' bodies strewn across the ground. Unbeknownst to them, Nick was hiding beneath one of the corpses, weapons ready. Meanwhile, inside the house, Kayla was writhing in pain. Labor had begun. Nick radioed a signal just as Lucy hit the switch again, bathing the yard in blinding light. Temporary blindness struck the squad. Fear and disarray spread. The moment the lights shut off, Nick struck again, weaving through the crowd with relentless precision. He was unstoppable, like a grim reaper with no weakness. Bullets and armor didn't matter. Every enemy fell like paper targets. Not a single one survived. Back inside, Kayla's labor had reached its climax. The pain was unbearable, but her resolve was stronger. With sheer willpower, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Mother and child were safe. Outside, Nick stood over the fallen enemies. The squad leader, now deranged, threatened his remaining men, ordering them forward at gunpoint and even snatching a heavy weapon from one of them. As the group breached the house, a nearby radio suddenly crackled to life. Mistaking it for an enemy signal, they opened fire, blindly, walking right into Nick's trap. With the last of them taken out, the leader flew into a rage and fired a rocket straight into the house. Luckily, Nick shielded himself with a TV set, barely surviving the blast. The shockwave still sent him flying, dazed but alive. The squad leader stormed into the house, only to be doused in boiling oil by Nick. A savory scent filled the room. Then came the frying pan. The old man in the house tried to help, firing off rounds, but not one bullet hit. In the scuffle, a stray bullet accidentally struck him. Nick was now pinned by the leader, gasping for air, but in a last-ditch effort, he kicked the old man's fallen pistol across the floor. Just in time, the threat was finally eliminated, but the old man had drawn his final breath. For him, perhaps it was a release. At dawn, Nick poured gasoline throughout the house and set it ablaze, burning it to ashes. Then, with the others, he fled the town. Kayla had arranged for her new boyfriend to pick them up. If everything went well, they could finally start a new life. But reality is never that simple. Soon after they left, Sheriff Lucas arrived at the site with his men. They found no bodies, but assumed the family had perished in the fire. Lucas, however, was certain they had escaped. Just then, a woman stepped onto the scene, confident, arrogant, draped in designer wear. This was Avila, the drug cartel boss Lucas worked for. He confessed that Nick had critical evidence of their crimes, and if exposed, he'd be powerless. He pleaded for Avila's help in eliminating Nick and the others. Avila didn't refuse. Her empire was at stake. Elsewhere, Nick and the group finally met Walker, their pickup. Just as they were boarding the vehicle, a bullet shattered the moment, striking Walker dead. A sniper. Avila had sent reinforcements, a whole team of armed operatives. Without hesitation, Nick opened fire. Trained as they were no match for him. Meanwhile, Lucy rushed to the driver's seat under a hail of bullets, slammed the gas, and tore out of there. As Nick finished off the last of the attackers, a rare smile crept onto his face, but it didn't last. A truck armed with heavy weapons suddenly blocked their path. Nick charged forward, but couldn't stop it. Lucy crawled from the vehicle, emptied her weapon into one of the attackers, but was gunned down in the process. The car carrying Kayla and her newborn exploded in flames. Nick, devastated, gunned down the remaining attackers, but it was too late. The damage was done. Lucas and Avila, the ones responsible, were still alive, but Nick had no intention of letting them walk free. He sent the evidence to a news network, exposing Lucas's crimes to the world. Cornered, Lucas sought shelter with Avila, exactly as Nick had planned. Nick returned to the woods, unearthed the chained wooden box filled with weapons, cash, and passports. His backup plan. Fully armed, he set out for revenge. In the next scene, Lucas is found dead in a bathtub. Bodies litter Avila's luxurious mansion. She too lies in a pool of blood. Nick walks out of the villa, calm, composed. Justice finally served for the family he failed to save.